Now, the UK may see the end of its current lockdown restrictions by July. This is according to Britain's Daily Mail, citing the government's roadmap out of lockdown. And that would see England returning to normal by July. Now, Prime Minister Boris Johnson is expected to unveil plans on easing coronavirus restrictions next week. The blueprint being discussed by ministers and industry leaders aims to gradually relax lockdown measures in 4-week intervals. They are likely to involve limited reopenings of pubs and restaurants by May, where 2 households could be allowed to sit together indoors. Working from home arrangements, on the other hand, expected to continue for the foreseeable future. Well, let's speak live with Ollie Barrett joining us from London. Ollie, this back to normal by July seems like quite an optimistic timeline. Is that being borne out, though, by what you're seeing on the ground?
Well, deaths are falling rapidly, hospitalizations are falling rapidly, cases are falling rapidly as well. The vaccination rollout programme here in the UK continues at a very fast pace indeed. We will hear from Boris Johnson on Monday, but it is worth pointing out that all of the speculation we are seeing in the British press at the moment about exactly how Boris Johnson will ease lockdown restrictions is exactly that, speculation. And one of the reasons that we can say that is that it is this week that Boris Johnson, his government ministers, his scientific advisers as well, are poring over data that is coming in from the UK's vaccination programme and trying to work out exactly what effects are being seen from that vaccination rollout and exactly what it means for the potential future trajectory of the outbreak. So no decisions have been made yet. Certainly, there are scientists advising the government who want Boris Johnson to be very cautious. He is minded to be cautious as well because he wants this to be an irreversible lockdown. He doesn't want to ease it and then find cases spike and then have to reimpose lockdown restrictions further down the line. But he faces significant pressure from within his own Conservative Party. Many of his own MPs feel that when you get to early March and millions of the most vulnerable and elderly people have been vaccinated and will have seen their protection kick in, many Conservative MPs feel at that point there is simply no requirement at all for any restrictions on British people's lives and freedoms. So it is going to be a difficult balance for Boris Johnson to strike.
Yeah, and as you said, a lot of speculation still surrounding the roadmap out of lockdown. But are we getting any details at all from the Boris Johnson government or experts on what it could look like?
Certainly there are some outlines which are being discussed pending some of that data, which is still going to be coming in ahead of Boris Johnson's speech on Monday. It does look like we will start with schools on March the 8th returning in England, potentially all school children going back as soon as that. Then some easing of restrictions on outdoor exercise, hospitality a little bit later, perhaps in April and May, with some reopening with some social distancing guidelines in place and attempts, we understand, to get sports fans back into stadia ahead of the planned Euro 2021 tournament, the rearranged tournament, later this British summer. So an ambitious timetable, many would say. But as I say, many Conservative MPs and others in the hospitality industry will look at data and say that this could be something that moves more quickly than Boris Johnson is currently minded to do. But he is also wary of the fact that he's been criticised throughout this crisis of easing lockdowns too quickly and going into them too late. So he is certainly wanting to avoid that criticism this time around.
And also, as you mentioned, he wants to be cautious, but he wants the exit plan to be cautious but irreversible. So what then are the factors that the government will need to see to make it confident enough to make that call for a sustainable exit?
Well, there have also been reports that the government is thinking that it shouldn't be easing lockdown until cases are below 1,000 a day. Well, cases at the moment are at around 10,000 a day, but as I say, coming down very rapidly indeed. The government is pushing back against that idea, though, and saying it's not just about daily case numbers, it's about all sorts of things. It's about cases It's about hospitalizations, it's about fatalities, it's about pressure on the National Health Service, and it's about more data coming in on the vaccination program. What effects are the vaccines having on transmission of the virus? What other new variants are being discovered out in the world in the coming months that might mean even more caution added back into the easing of lockdown restrictions? And by the way, Boris Johnson is making it very clear that if further lockdowns do need to be imposed, perhaps because of the spread of new variants that can escape vaccine efficacy, he won't hesitate to do so.
Ollie Barrett in London, thank you.